Evening and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall, joined once again by Johnny Bisbee, long regular of the Tuesday show, and a man who has been sporadic on the Tuesday show this season, but has now returned to the good graces of Tuesday night. A long-standing member of the Franchise Tag community, the betting and fantasy guru, alongside Andrew, obviously. I mean, who's the guru out of two? Who's like the Dalai Lama? Have you two?
I mean, how bloody dare you make me even answer that question? Who's the guru? I'll tell you what. Who made $1,000 in 2 weeks?
Not Andrew.
There you go.
And we have to say, on behalf of all of us at the Franchise Tag, we do have to, we need to shine some light on this. Well done to Sky for winning $1,000 in 2 weekends. I mean, he did a fantastic job of getting them bets out there. Did Sky win?
He's teed you up there, mate.
Okay.
Well, before we kick off with all of the stuff about Week 7 in the NFL, what a glorious weekend it was of NFL football. We have two things to get out of the way and to talk about. Firstly, we ran a competition over the week for this Wilson Ball. I could not figure out which way round the stuff was last week as well, but I'll show it you again. Thank you, all of you, for your entries to this, for liking our video from last week and commenting on the teams that you think will win in Germany. And I would like to announce that the winner of the Wilson Duke football, compliments of Wilson, the guys over there who we did a lovely interview with Dave Pachochik, who's head of global partnerships within Wilson. Make sure you go check that out on our channel. And the winner is, after we did something online earlier, Gareth got it all sorted. He's the man in the background. And that is at Natalie Blythe 8896, who commented 4 days ago. She believes the Patriots and the Chiefs, no doubt about it, will win in Germany. This will be on your way, Natalie. After the show, we will comment on your comment and try and get handling to get this all out to you as well. So awesome. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. And also, we've got a live opening. Compliments of USA Sports, who have very kindly sent some of us our team's hats, which are very good. I know some of the guys have opened theirs already. However, I'm going to open mine now. You can find all their stuff at USA Sports. Really great guys. I mean, I know there's people out there who have problems with getting NFL gear from other suppliers every now and then. But I have to say, with these guys, I've never had a problem. And thank you very much for this Steelers ball. I have to admit, I didn't know what colour mine would be. I've not really noticed them on the sideline yet. I don't suppose it's not cold enough yet, is it?
Just quickly, for those of you that do want to save a bit of money, if you use the code franchise tag, you will get 15% off at usasports.co.uk. I thought our illustrious host would say this, but he's clearly forgotten or got too excited by the look of the hat. And so I just thought I'd let you know.
Save yourself some money. Code franchise tag 2, F tag 2, capital letters, USA Sports.
No. Franchise tag.
Lowercase.
Just franchise tag lowercase.
2, lowercase with TWO.
No. Franchise tag.
TOO.
Lowercase. The end. Different promotion. Think USA Sport.
Code franchise tag at USA Sports. Thank you again, guys, over there.
It is brilliant.
I love the yellow
at some point.
The yellow woven in the NFL emblem at the back's real cool as well. Actually, like I said, buy one of these every year, so I'm really thankful that we've been gifted it. And again, you can save yourself some money by using the code franchise tag over at their website. You will certainly see me in this, I'm sure, in the future as well on social media. NFL football, what a weekend. I mean, it was actually a quiet weekend for us all, for once, because we've had such a busy last few weeks with the London games. Hopefully some busy weeks to come if things happen with Germany, but we shall see. Johnny, some big games over the weekend. We've got to start off with the Baltimore Ravens going against the Detroit Lions, who everyone sort of kept an eye on this game, being the game of the weekend. The Ravens came to town and they obliterated this Detroit Lions. I mean, they really showed their true talent. Give us what your thoughts on the game were. I mean, 38-6 in the end. It was just a mauling of this Lions team, and not many teams have done that to this Lions team this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the game that I think has been the most talked about since Sunday. Obviously Lamar Jackson was really at his game. One of the star performers from the weekend. Throwing I think 3 touchdowns and a rushing one as well. He looked really confident. There was that one touchdown where he threw to Nelson Aguilar in the end zone. I thought was his standout moment because he was controlling it. He really, shown himself as a really good passer in the pocket. This evolution under Ted Monken, the new offensive coordinator, is starting to really come to fruition. The Ravens on both sides of the ball, they've got some excellent weapons for Lamar. Zay Flowers is a problem. Nelson, I've mentioned Aguilar, who contributed. Obviously, Odell, Mark Andrews had a day. And on defense as well, Roquan Smith looks, just a classic Ravens player. And there's a lot of studs around him. So, yeah, very excited from this Ravens team, particularly because we discussed them last week at having won against the Titans in London, where we weren't critical. We said that they got the job done, but they didn't necessarily get into top gear. And I think they showed everyone, what they're really about. And everyone's bigging them up as now the team to beat in the AFC. Obviously, the Chiefs and obviously a few of the teams. It wasn't a great weekend for a couple of juggernauts in the AFC, but the Ravens are the team that everyone's talking about, and I think they really deserve it after this big win.
We were saying, Adam, when we saw them at the Spurs game, that it's something that is quite uncommon and it's against the saying that it is, but just throw the damn football rather than run the damn football, because they were showing they could throw the ball. He's been showing it over the last few weeks, and he's had this tag and this albatross around his neck for so long that he's a running quarterback, that he can't throw. It came out of it in the draft, and he's improved year on year, but I don't think no one's really looked under the microscope. Obviously, he's had a lot of injuries as well. But the stat line on the day, 21 for 27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. His rushing numbers, 9 attempts for 36 yards and a touchdown. Still admirable running stats as well, but not the Lamar Jackson we've seen in the past. Are we seeing a new Lamar Jackson now in this Ravens offense?
I don't know if we actually are seeing a new Lamar Jackson. I think that he's just in a new situation. He's never had this before, and this was the thing. When I knew that I was going to be on tonight, and like last night, I had a quick look at the Ravens because I kind of figured it was, an obvious one that would come up. And I had a quick look at them, and the last time they scored like that many points was against the Patriots last year. And
where's Sky when you need him?
I know, he's done a runner. I was like, come on. When you look at it, it was all one reception, and Mark Andrews had like 8 or 9. And I think this is where it's different. This is the big difference that you're seeing. The ball is being moved a hell of a lot more across a lot more pieces. Andrew had 4 receptions. Flowers had 4 receptions. Beckham had 5 receptions. So we kind of felt like had completely fallen off a cliff. Suddenly had 5 receptions. They had 4 more players on 1. Although the target is pretty much the same, when you look back at it, they were throwing the ball. It's just that it's being spread out more, which means that defenses don't know where the ball's going as much. And that is the difference that you're seeing with this team. They're still very effective with the run, but they're now very effective with the pass, and it's not just going to one guy. And I think that is what is going to make a massive difference for them. And, we all know they've got a great defense. They've had this for years. They've been pretty decent on special teams for years. It's always been the offense. It's always been, can Lamar sort of do it without rushing? It was obvious in that game against the Lions. And bear in mind, you've got Hutchinson coming at you. So it's not like you've got a nobody coming at you. You've got someone very good there. He had the ability and the confidence to stay in the pocket and just sort of stay steady rather than run out. I think they're good for the AFC North. It's a very tough division, but I think if they keep playing like this, they're going to win the North. I think they've got more than enough ability to go and win the AFC, the whole side of it. And it really wouldn't surprise me if they went and won the Super Bowl with performances like that. They have the ability there. We've said for years their biggest problem is injuries. If they can, like, even now they don't have to necessarily go out and trade for a running back, but if they could go out and get a real top quality running back in the trade market before it closes on Halloween, they could be a very, very difficult team to beat.
To your point, 9 different players got reception. Like, that's spreading the ball like that. That is not the Ravens offense that we have known over the last few years, who have been really run centric and really to the nose. You say about performances like that, that was only 2 weeks ago that they put in a shoddy performance against the Pittsburgh. I'm not doing the whole Steelers, we beat them sort of thing. I'm not doing that, because it was a shoddy game. Anyone could have won that game, but that we were both terrible in that game. Is that just an anomaly, or is this a bounce back? Like, because you could say, oh, well, is this result, which is such a big result against a Detroit Lions team who's been very good this year and consistent, the anomaly? Or was that game against the Steelers where they were just not good, the anomaly? Or is it something in between in a way?
I think that it's probably neither. I think what you're seeing is a team that is starting to get more and more comfortable with this new offensive coordinator that they have in Todd Monken and the way that he wants to play. I mean, you're asking a quarterback to throw the ball to all these different players and trust all these different players that he's not used to doing. And in the same respect, you've got players who have been there. I know Beckham hasn't, and Flowers are, they're new this year, but the other guys, Bateman has been there a couple of years now. Andrews has been there for a while. They're not used to it. Andrews is used to getting the ball all the time. Like, he's probably not used to only having 4 receptions in a game. So it's kind of like, that's the problem. It's like everyone's trying to get used to this new way of playing on this offense. I think you're going to get games where it's going to fall apart and they're going to drop the ball and it's not really going to work because they're just not used to it. But you can see more and more now that it's starting to become more, they're becoming more comfortable with it. And so because of that, I think if they can get into a rhythm with that, they are very dangerous.
One big thing we need to remember, though, and I'll go over to Johnny on this, is this Detroit Lions team were incredibly one-dimensional. Now, they had to turn into one-dimensional, I do admit, because they needed to get the points. But Jared Goff, 33 for 53. 53 attempts is like Roethlisberger before Najee Harris turned up numbers. Like when he had James Conner, and James Conner got injured all the time. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs on the day was 11 attempts, 68 yards on the ground and a touchdown. They were missing David Montgomery, Johnny. And I know you then get pushed into a situation where you do have to throw the ball, but there was players missing for this Lions team. Should they take much away from this defeat, or is this maybe their anomaly?
Yeah, I think, as Dan Campbell said in his post-match press conference, I feel it was just one of those days for the Lions that they were incredibly poor. Goff was not at his best that we've seen this year. The defense has obviously been talked about as having improved. Wasn't at the races at all, and I think it's just something that they just have to recenter and ride it off, because they've got a schedule where they can really push on now. They go against the Raiders, who coming off a disappointing defeat to the Bears, not expecting too much from then, against an electric looking Lions offense when it's in its groove. They're still a team that I think, just looking at the schedule, they don't have a game where I wouldn't favour them until they play the Cowboys in week 17. So I'm fully expecting this Lions team to kick on and perhaps go on and get 11-12 wins. I wouldn't be too concerned. I think they like you said, they were poor at the weekend, but it's all about recovering from that. I think they've had a few statement wins already this year to prove that they are about to make that next step. And I think it's just one of those sort of days. it is concerning the defense. Baltimore were able to get over 500 yards against this defense, and it is a bit of a reality check. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned. But yeah, just a disappointing defeat. That's all.
So are you trying to tell me this could be the Super Bowl in February?
I wouldn't go as far as saying that, but I can see this.
If that's the hill you're going to die on, Johnny, then
the Lions are going to win a playoff game. In my opinion, I think they.
I think that's reasonable.
I think that would be a successful season for Detroit. I've unfortunately say, Adam, I don't see anyone else. Obviously the Vikings had a great game yesterday, but I can't see anyone else challenging them in the North. And yeah, I think Detroit's a hard place to go to at the moment. We know how well Goff plays at Ford Field, so yeah, I'm fully expecting them to get there. And I think that schedule, makes them, able to recover and go on a bit of a run where they can, build that momentum going into the postseason.
We'll stick on the NFC teams because, this quarterback, man, he is trash. He is terrible. He was such a big pick in the draft, and he's losing games, and he's got so many weapons around him. And they were out. The Vikings were without Justin Jefferson, their main guy, and Brock Purdy has just gone from the top of the mountain for the last few weeks to suddenly crumbling into. We said he could be next Tom Brady on here 2 weeks ago. I might have to eat this hat, let alone wear it. What's going on with that, Adam? What's going on with the 49ers and Brock Purdy?
Well, I wasn't here for the strange comparison to Tom Brady.
Don't even say it was strange.
It was strange. It was a little strange. I just assumed Sky had lost his mind again, but that's what he does. But no, I didn't think he played that bad, did he? He wasn't that awful. He had 2 interceptions. I think they were chasing the game, and they're not normally in that position, are they? That was the thing. I wouldn't say there's anything that wrong with Purdy, to be honest. I think he's fine, and I do think this is maybe what you're going to see if the 49ers start getting injuries. I think Trent Williams being out was a massive loss for them. Debo obviously is another one on the offense, which is a problem. Not a huge problem, but it is a problem. And the Vikings actually looked half decent for a change this season. So, I think you're always going to get these sort of results for teams like the 49ers if they lose their main guys.
Johnny, they're already on social media. There's the whole we knew Kirk was better than Brock thing going on and everything like that. What's your take on this? Because we have been incredibly positive about Brock Purdy on this podcast quite a few times, and I still think he will rise. I still think this is a Super Bowl team. I can't see this not being a Super Bowl team. This does not put the Vikings ahead of them in no way, shape, or form. This was more the Vikings we saw of last year winning close contests, really, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I would agree with Adam. I think Purdy perhaps has had a couple of down weeks, but I won't get too concerned about that. He was coming off, I can't remember who the Niners were playing, where everyone was saying, he's a top 5 quarterback. And we probably, got sucked into that hype a little bit, but he's still very competent. He's got, players around him. And like you say, I think the injuries just made a huge difference on the night, but not taking anything away from the Niners. I thought Kirk Cousins was fantastic in prime time, throwing for over 350 yards.
Something he's notoriously bad at as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think Kirk has always been someone who we've probably disregarded a little bit, but I think he's definitely flirting with a top 10, probably even a bit higher, to be honest. At the moment, he's playing a better standard than players like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. I think, no Justin Jefferson is no problem. Jordan Allison looked good as well. TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, they're a team, but I think it just comes back to the defense as well. And, flipping it on the other side, I thought the 49ers' pass rush is looking a little bit off at the moment. We know that Bosa hasn't got the help. I'm wondering if there's been, some rumors about Hunter and the Vikings. Potentially, is that something that we're going to see?
That'd be massive.
Say again.
That'd be huge. That'd be so huge if they did
Imagine
that.
that,
because
imagine
if you look at the Eagles, like I'm sure we'll talk about the Eagles Dolphins game in a moment, but the fact they traded last night for Kevin Byard is clearly a stamp of we're going for it. Like we've got the 49ers to compete with and we're going for it. Do you think the 49ers need to respond with a bit of we're going to go for it as well because this is our year sort of thing? Because like I said, if there is fatigue, that's one of Eagles' strength is their depth in positions that are just that impact constantly. Do you think that is something the 49ers need to address pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I've mentioned it. I think they should go after someone like Hunter because I don't know if they even sacked Kirk last night. The pressure that Bosa particularly was able to get was minimal. Yes, obviously the Vikings have got some studs on their own line. Christian. What's his surname? Darius Shaw is a top offensive tackle, but yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, and obviously with Myles Garrett, getting all the headlines, TJ Watts will come in. I think we need to get behind Bosa because he's having to do everything at the moment because the pass rush in San Francisco is a little bit bare. So I think a trade like that, we saw the two GMs having a bit of a chat pre-game. Maybe that was something that they were talking about. Let's see. But yeah, it could be an interesting couple of days for the 49ers. I think they do need just something, a bit extra because it's been a poor couple of weeks. We were building up as this absolute juggernaut of a team, and they've just slid down a couple of places, I think, in the power rankings. So yeah, it's time to make another move.
Yeah, they did come away with 0 sacks on the night, which is pretty surprising. I will just one last thing on the 49ers game before we go on is this game was McCaffrey's 16th game in a row with a touchdown. He only needs to score next week and he'll tie the record that is stood since 1963, maybe. I could be lying about that. I think it was in the 60s. I did a podcast the other day and I brought that. We talked about it, and that was when he was on game 15. And I remember saying he's got 2 more. I think it was in the 60s, I believe. How impressive, Adam. I mean, considering he goes from Carolina, he's been incredible in Carolina. We know what a threat he is. Has all these injuries, can never stay fit and healthy. Shock trade to the 49ers, and you go, wow, the 49ers have found this guy. But 49ers running backs every year get injured. He stayed quite healthy. Even when he's been a little injured, he's sort of carried on through. He's playing at such a sharp level. I know he didn't exactly push him over the mark to win that game for them, but how? I mean, he's got to be an MVP conversation, surely.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, he should be. Unfortunately, he probably won't be because he's not a quarterback, but yeah, he should be in the MVP conversation. Yeah, he's one of the best running backs we've seen in quite a long time. Just consistent, never, like you say, injuries is never a major issue. He manages to keep himself fit, which is great. Yeah, just model pro, isn't he? Who just keeps going. And if anyone deserved to be paid, a lot of people go on about the running back position. They don't get paid enough. But if anyone did deserve it, it was probably him. And so it's good that the 49ers gave it to him. Yeah, he's quality running back, and hopefully he'll hang around for a few more years. That's all we can kind of hope for, because obviously we want to see the best guys out there.
He's a unicorn in a field of ponies, as someone once said on what was it on The Apprentice? I'm a field of ponies. I'm not one trick pony. I'm a one trick. No, it's the I'm not a one trick pony. I'm a field of ponies. That's what he says.
Okay,
that's what he says. Not a unicorn in a field of ponies. You need to go on the internet more. Speaking of people that came crashing down to earth, a certain Florida team thought they could roll up to the old Northeast and bring them Philadelphia Eagles down a peg or two. And unfortunately, the Eagles slapped the taste right out of the mouth and said, you go back down south to your sunshine because this is where the tough guys live. 31-17, the Eagles. This was, again, one of the most highly anticipated games because a lot of people think this could be the Super Bowl as well. The Dolphins have been on this massive run, Adam. And there's been a lot of hype, and there's pretty much everyone on the internet now is going, yep, they are all hype, and they can't win the big games. And it's all been a bit flashy. And when you play a team that actually has some grit, determination, and some toughness about you, especially in a very tough and gritty environment as well. For Philadelphia is the Link is known to be a fortress to go to, and that righteous noise and all sorts of craziness that happens around. How much has this brought them back down to earth, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's followed the betting show over the last couple of 2-3 weeks would know that we have been saying that it's kind of a matter of time before something like this was going to happen. Miami defensively are quite poor. They give up a lot of rushing and passing touchdowns. They're not great on either side of it, and so it's not surprising that something like this has happened. What was surprising, certainly to me, was how little their offense managed to deal with not the 49ers, with the Eagles defense. That was a little bit surprising. That the whole point of this Miami offense is speed. That's what it's built on. The fact is that the ball has to come out very, very quickly for it to work. And obviously, like Hill and Waddle are quick enough to get up the field in order to be able to make the difference. So that was surprising that it really didn't seem to happen that much. I know Hill got a touchdown, but that was about it, really. It wasn't that great. So that was a bit surprising. You kind of felt like they would be able to keep up with a Eagles offense that has struggled a little bit this season, but they couldn't. And defensively, I wasn't surprised that they gave up like 30 odd points. That was something that I think we all thought was going to come eventually when they played someone very good. But yeah, this is a bit of a wake up call, I think, to the Dolphins, that they, as much as they may feel that they are contenders with that defense, they're not, and that's going to be a problem. Even though they have looked impressive, it's a very strong AFC, and that's what's going to eventually find them out when it comes to the crunch matches in the playoffs.
Is it all style over substance, Johnny? And is it also a discipline issue as well? Because the Eagles got 0 penalties on the night, Miami 10 penalties. And I think it was for over 100 yards. I can't remember the exact figure off the top of me, but I know it was quite a large amount of yards that they gave up in them 10 penalties. Is it all just been a bit of a Florida dream for these guys, and now it's coming back to reality, coming into the winter months?
I think definitely they looked a little bit too, or they've started to look a little bit too one-dimensional in their play, and I think we saw that a couple of their members of the O-line went down during the game. They need a strong O-line to have a strong running game, and that just never got clicking against the Eagles. So yeah, I think similar to the Lions, we know that the Dolphins have looked really, really good. Made a lot of improvements on offense. Yes, they're in a difficult division. They'll be happy that the Bills. The Bills lost against the Patriots. I don't know. They play the Jets in a few weeks' time, and I think the Jets' defense could really do something to this Miami team if they don't. I don't know. I feel that there's going to be another game like this, and where we're going to turn down a little bit on the Dolphins. I think, like Adam said, it was a little bit expected that something like this was around the corner, but I feel that the league is realizing that the Dolphins are very one-dimensional at the moment, and that could trip them up a little bit. But I still think they're a strong team. I still think they will compete very heavily in the AFC. So probably pick the Jets, and I'll look to a playoff place. But a strong AFC. I think the Dolphins, need to just adapt a little bit. And as Adam said, I think, the defense just needs to be playing at a higher level that we saw a bit early in the season.
Are we just accepting now that this is Eagles in the Super Bowl at this point? Considering there is so much onus over the Super Bowl hangover, and especially because they lost it as well. They lost it in unusual circumstances or were robbed of it. Ha! Next joke. Sorry, that was a massive dig at Eagles fans, but you lost it fair and square. They are going to go back to the Super Bowl. This is just a matter of time. Unless the 49ers...
I was going to say, you just told me the 49ers.
I think they will be, but I'm playing devil's advocate here. That's what the host is allowed to do. You see, I don't want the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl, and I don't think they'll get to the Super Bowl. I think the 49ers are a real team, but they have lost this week. They will get injuries. They are looking fatigued. Could we argue that the Eagles, with the depth they have, they've picked up right where they've picked off. They've got they've got weapons everywhere as well. And depth on both sides of the ball, may I add, as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of compared them to the Patriots this year. You know, it's nothing's been fancy. It's been pretty rough watching, to be honest, that offense. But they're winning, and that's what the Patriots always used to do. It's the same old story. Yeah, they've got an incredibly good chance. I still think they probably will. I think they're stronger overall than the 49ers. I mean, it's very close. But it really, more than anything, it's the injury history of the 49ers where it just kind of feels like is it going to happen again? Because it just always seems to happen to them. So that's the reason that I kind of think if the 49ers can stay fit, it would be a great matchup. But I can't see anything else other than them two in the NFC Championship game. I think they're so far ahead of everyone in the NFC that's a given. But yeah, once you get who's in the Super Bowl, I mean, it just depends who's the fittest team at the time, I suppose.
Let's move on to another game, an AFC matchup with highs, lows, referee betrayals, controversy. And I didn't watch a single moment of it, so I don't really have that much to add, unfortunately, within it. And I'm sure Adam will be back very momentarily because he'll want to talk about this. The Cleveland Browns against the Indianapolis Colts. The Browns winning 39-38. Johnny, have you seen much of this? Because I ain't going to lie, I've not really seen it yet. I've not been... I wasn't feeling the most awake on Sunday night, so I was in and out of concentration. Not really found a moment to catch up on myself yet. I just heard there was a lot on social media. I just heard that there was a bad call, a muffed moment, some may say. How bad was it?
Well, I watched, about 6-7 hours of
That's all you need to know. It was bad.
But every time we cut to the Colts Browns game, it was either because Myles Garrett had done something outrageous, or there was, Minshew being Minshew, or there being a very controversial play call, and it's starting to happen a little bit more frequently than I think we've seen. I think the Colts deserved to win that game and should have won the game if there were the officiating was at a level that we expect. But the Browns. I mean, what I took away from the game was, Myles Garrett is the most dominant player in the NFL at the moment. He was absolutely everywhere. We were cutting to either a sack, a tackle for loss, the incredible block kick that he did in I think it was at the end of the first half. He's a player that I think some people think is overrated. I think he's still criminally underrated because every time I seem to watch the Browns, it's him and his defense that are making the standout because unfortunately Deshaun Watson is not playing anywhere near the level that we've expected, and I think this is
he didn't play in this game, did he? Really?
He went off, but when he was playing, he was poor. I think he's only played one decent game so far this year. It's a deal which is just looking increasingly poor. For the Colts, I think they can take away some positives. I think Minshew was decent. We were probably a bit critical of him last week on the pod, but yeah, he threw for. I think we just got the whole Minshew experience. Throws for a fair amount of touchdowns, but yeah, throws some pretty weird shots away as well. So, but yeah, I think the Colts don't need to panic. They're having a good season, I think. It's keeping alive, I think, in the AFC South. And for the Browns, that defense is probably the best in the league at the moment. It's just about what happens at quarterback. PJ Walker's obviously not the answer. He didn't look great when he came in, but Deshaun is a real problem for this team.
I've just watched both of them penalties. And bear in mind, I've not got the volume on, so I can't hear the exact thing. So I'm given to believe that the first one was a legal contact, which I think's a bust call. And then the second one's pass interference, right? Which I think's correct call. For me.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw the pass interference call, I was just a little bit like, really, just let them play, sort of thing. Maybe it's because it was against the Colts. I don't know what it is about the Browns. They just make themselves really, really dislikable. They're just so.
That's why I'm coming from a Steelers fan point of view. Yeah. I don't want the Browns to be getting these calls at all, but I do think the second call is it is pass interference. It is holding the player. You can't do that anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think a lot of people weren't happy with it, and I can kind of understand why not. It didn't feel like there was that much in it, and then he is sort of holding him a little bit. And the problem is he didn't turn his head, did he? That was the other thing. I think that was the real issue with it. So that was the concern. But yeah, I mean he's I don't know what it is about the Browns, and I think this is probably why Myles Garrett doesn't get necessarily the respect he deserves. He's on the team that no one wants to like, and I think that's the real issue. And it's strange because he's such a good defense, so good at his position, and yet you just don't. He's not the first name that comes into your head.
It's Nick Bosa or TJ.
Yeah.
And yet he is incredible. And I would say, actually, again, as a Steeler fan, though I don't like the Browns, there is players on that team that I think are way better than people give him credit for. Nick Chubb, incredible running back, game-changing running back. Myles Garrett, game-changing edge rusher. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the middle linebacker, love him. Denzel Ward, really decent corner. O-line, littered with talent as well. Like there is so many positive. Amari Cooper, incredibly consistent wide receiver. I know he hasn't. There was like a couple of weeks ago he got like nothing. In fact, it was last week when he got. I think he got one catch in like the third quarter, and he was like, "Where's he been?" But he has been a consistent wide receiver for a very long time. It's just the whole feeling behind Browns, I suppose, is that people just don't seem to want to like them. I suppose. I don't know. Maybe it's the whole
the history as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the other thing, and it's like it's very difficult to like that team, and then they go and trade for Deshaun Watson and everything that's gone on with that, and so it's just another reason that you don't like the team, and so I think it's just you constantly feel that way.
To finalise us off, and I don't really want to talk about it, but you have to. As armchair fans, we have a very clear refereeing problem in football here in this country at the minute. Very, very clear. Is it the same in the NFL? Is there a problem? Because there has been a few blown calls this year already.
I think there's going to be issues in any sport. Like I'm a huge rugby union fan as well, and there was a lot of discussion about the final scrum in the game between England and South Africa. But it's perspective, isn't it? I think obviously football in this country, where we're now calling for games to be replayed, is obviously a bit over the top. I think because we consume so much sport, we expect it to be played at the highest level, and that includes the officiating. And when we see a mistake from a referee, we want to lambast their sort of opinion, and I think that's what it comes down to, because people make subjective opinions in everyday life, including in refereeing. A different referee will have made potentially a different call on that pass interference play. So I don't know. We're always going to have these discussions, I think, unfortunately. But yeah, there have been. I think that we always want to improve, and I think there have been some calls which, I think a lot of people have disagreed with, and that's the sort of thing that's sort of creeping in a lot more sort of negativity on that. But I think unfortunately it's always going to be a cause for concern in a professional sport like American football.
Lambast is a fantastic word, by the way. It's a good word to use. What do you reckon, Adam?
I think the NFL doesn't have anywhere near as many problems as what the Premier League does over here at the moment. There have been some calls, and actually, I think we, at the Baltimore Tennessee game at Tottenham, there was some calls where it just felt like there was a flag coming in for everything, and you just sort of think
it felt ridiculous, didn't it?
Yeah,
it felt ridiculous.
It just can't. This isn't right. It's too much almost, and it just didn't need to be happening. I think they're probably being quite tight on things at the moment. They're trying to get everything right, and then maybe being a little bit over the top on certain things. But I don't think that's a really necessarily the worst thing in the world, like for NFL. And obviously NFL is much better because you have the breaks in play. It's a lot easier to be able to review things and stuff like that, so it works a lot better. I don't think it's mega bad at the moment when it comes to the NFL. The Premier League, I think you've just got absolute chaos at the moment, because you've got so many teams that are getting letters of apology from the refereeing association or whoever's in charge of it, and because they're making mistakes. But it's not just the referees that are making the mistakes, it's going to VAR, and then the VAR is making the mistake. So now you've got the video evidence that is wrong, and it's just an absolute minefield now. I think they've seen sports like the NFL, and they've gone, well, they use video refereeing, why can't we? And you see, everyone's been calling for it. Rugby, cricket, everyone's come out and gone, well, they can do it. Tennis has Hawkeye and all that. That all works fine because it's not a flowing game like football is, and that's where the problem comes in. We've had some bus calls, we've had some calls that haven't been great, but we shouldn't be too unhappy with it.
I think the one, you could argue it's for all sports, but it sort of goes back to the whole Chiefs-Eagles penalty from the Super Bowl. With you might not have got that penalty, and you go, and then we would have won the game. No, it doesn't mean you would have won the game. If you hadn't got that penalty, you wouldn't have won the game. You would have been given an opportunity to win the game. Okay, that is an opportunity. Admittedly, people want the opportunity rather than being denied the opportunity. I get that, but it doesn't solidify a win. And I think there is a clear distinction between that, and I think people get that blurred a lot of the time. It's if that didn't happen, we would have won. No, you would have the opportunity to have won. Does not necessarily mean you would have won. And I think that can still be thrown up in the air. I mean, it is a tough call, and you have to commend the guys who are out there. We're talking NFL here, not regular football. We have to commend the people that are doing it, because it is an incredible. We should. Yeah, Premier League as well. There is an incredibly hard job. There is a lot of stress. There's a lot of tension. You're in a live environment with a lot of people who are paid a lot of money to come and see you, watch a lot of people who are paid a lot of money to perform. They want the best in all areas. In life at the minute, there is not enough money to go around, it feels like, and people use that hard-earned money to go and see these sports, don't they? And they expect everyone to be on that prime level. And they feel let down in a way, but the players are feeling let down as well, and it's hard. And I commend the guys that do it, that referee and officiate and do that sort of stuff, because it must be difficult. But if you're in a scenario like that, you have to take the criticism as well as the plaudits, because that will happen. There will be times where you're applauded. There certainly is. There certainly is in regular football now. There is moments where they are applauded, right? And it's got to be a two-way street. Anyway, enough refereeing and officiating. Johnny, Adam, thank you very much for joining me on this show. Make sure you catch up with us very soon. Congratulations to our winner for the old Wilson football. That'll be coming your way very soon. USA Sports, thank you very much for the hat. Make sure you go and save yourself some money. Use in the code franchise tag at usasports.com. Really great company for all your sporting needs. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all very soon.